old and in the way, sisters, laugh and learn with me, Janet.
And me, Nancy.
The Bitchin' Sisters, as we tell it like it is, the way it was back then and the mess we're in now.
We're growing old in a new world with skyrocketing costs, crazy fashions, changing norms, and I hate to remind you, with limited time left.
Yeah.
We've got some practical ideas that might work for you.
And we definitely have some opinions that you might have too.
We'll entertain you and inform you. Let's look back at how it was and ahead to what's coming.
And if you're young, maybe you can learn something from your elders. Supposedly we're wise, but we've definitely been there and done that.
Cat lovers. Nobody owns a cat. Well, we're old and we both have cats. That's the stereotype. My cat has a name, but my other half never calls him by it.
What's the name?
Well, he calls him Doofus, Guts, or sometimes Peckerwood. Maybe that's why Marley, his real name, has nothing to do with him. He only bonds to me. It's true. When he comes up from the basement in the morning, he immediately looks for me, nobody else. If I'm still in bed, he meows at the door, and he puts his paws under the door to try to feel me. Ooh. And I get up and put my fingers under the door, and we play for a minute before I open it, and he enters. At night, when we're relaxing in the living room, Marley will come sit next to me on the couch, but if the other half sits down, he jumps off. He doesn't ever sit on the lap of anyone, even me, or even consent to being carried for more than a minute before fussing to get down. That's the feral in him. He's a feral cat with indoor privileges. Because he grew up feral, I have a GPS on him, so I know where he is.
That seems like a little overkill on a cat.
Well, okay, but I paid $75 for him. I never paid for a cat before.
What does it cost for a GPS?
100.
There you go.
We live in the country, and I've tracked him roaming like 3 or 4 miles a day. Sometimes the GPS says poor signal, and I have no idea where he is. He doesn't come back for over 8 hours, and my imagination, well, you can imagine it soars what's happened to him.
Because you have nothing else going on in your life up there?
That's right, I'm retired. I finally go to bed, and he announces his arrival during the night when he climbs his cat ladder onto the deck, and it makes a distinct wobbling sound, and he wakes us up. I open the door, and I'm just too relieved to scold him. Over the course of the 4 years we've been a couple.
You and the cat.
Yeah. He's honored. Well, he's really improved his communication skills. Okay, so here's what he does. He sits facing the door, looking like Jack Benny, waiting for me to see that he wants to go outside. And if I don't notice, he comes over to me and he taps his paw on my thigh. How's that? When he's hungry, he watches my feet to see if I am following him to the treat bar. And if not, he sits in the hall waiting till I head that way. Then he turns around and looks to see if I'm still coming.
Yeah, they do have their ways, don't they?
I know when he wants some cream, too, because that's the only time he ventures into the kitchen. If he wants my undivided attention, he'll walk on my computer if I'm using it. He'll lay down on my puzzle board if I'm doing a puzzle. Or he'll even start to chew my yarn if I'm knitting. And if he wants me to play with him, he'll kick the toy off the table and then look at me. He's pretty good. He's created a routine, and I know what it is. And I'm expected to cater to it. He only wants to go out in the early morning when it's dark until about 8 a.m. all the time, making a dozen trips in and out of the house to check on us.
Oh, yeah.
He naps all day, and then he likes to go back out around 4:30 till 9 or 10. And if I don't let him out in the morning, say I have to leave early, and I don't want him out for hours and hours, this is what he does. He gives me the evil eye. His ears flatten, and he attacks me, literally, with his teeth and claws. Only once did that result in a trip to the ER. And a hefty bail fine, and 3 trips to the vet.
What do you mean a bail?
Well, I had to pay for the 3 trips to the vet. That's $40 each time.
Okay.
And a record at the police station As a result, when I board him while we're on vacation, the staff has learned to give him his own room to himself.
This is unbelievable.
He must get ferocious when he can't go out at all for a week or two. Makes me wonder how he survived at the shelter. They told me he was there a month. I've read that once upon a time, cats used to be worshipped by gods. You ever hear that?
Oh, yeah.
And I think
In Egypt.
they haven't forgotten this.
Oh.
In fact, Christopher Hitchens says, owners of dogs will have noticed that if you give them food and water and affection, they think you are God. Whereas owners of cats are compelled to realize that if you give them food and water and affection, they draw the conclusion they are God. This is exactly how Marley is with me. He gives me just enough attention to make me think he likes me, enough time to pet him so I'll think he deserves a treat. And when he runs away, when I go to lift him into a caress, he makes me think I did something wrong. So I was thinking, Janet, if he could ask me questions, I think he would want to know, one, why do I have to sleep in the basement? Don't you know I'm ready to go out at 3 a.m. every night? 2, why aren't you eating the mice I bring home? I keep finding them covered in toilet paper in a hole in the ground out behind the barn. 3, what am I supposed to do all day while you guys are gone? You don't leave me anything to do, so that's why I barf for fun. And 4, when are you going to get rid of that damn GPS around my neck? I know my way around and I don't need a map to tell me where I am. Well, I have some questions for him too.
Oh, okay.
1, where do you go from 5 p.m. till 10 at night when the even with the GPS on your collar? All I know is when you arrive, you're covered with cobwebs. 2, why do you hide in the shower until I come find you and then pretend to claw me without extending your claws? Is this your idea of hide and seek? 3, why do you only eat the heads off of mice? Wouldn't it be tastier, not to mention easier, to eat the body instead? 4, how in the world are you able at 14 pounds to flatten yourself to hide under a very low dresser? And what's the point? 5, why do you always have to puke on my good rugs instead of the tile floors? 6, what are you thinking when you watch me clean out your litter boxes every day? And from my other half, 7, how do you want to die?
God.
Each cat I've had is very unique. None have the same anything, color, disposition, manners. We all think we pick out a cat, but I believe they pick us out. They know what they need, and they also know what we need. I like to think Marley picked me out because he'd have plenty of room to roam, plus privileges. In return, he allows me the pleasure of his company. An empty nester, an old lady, I love having something adorable to care for and feel loved by. As wild as Marley is, I know he needs attention and care, and I have the time now to give him all these things. As Mark Twain once said, if man could be crossed with a cat, it would improve man, but it would deteriorate the cat. He ought to know. He had 19 cats at one time.
My God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have cats.
Yeah. We had 3 cats. One of them became so old and decrepit, it was losing it. It was having to circle around its food many times before it could actually get to the food. Yeah, it had to claw its way onto the bed. And it was missing, it couldn't really get into the litter box, and so every day it was horrible. And I began to think, we hardly ever have an animal put down, but we decided we would have this animal put down because it was more about me wanting to keep the cat alive at that point.
Yep.
So unfortunately, though, this happened a couple months ago, and we decided she had to go. So she's in the freezer outside still. Well, we're waiting for the... we took her to the vet. They shot her up with something. She had a nice passing.
Yeah.
And then we said, I hope this doesn't sound too gross, but we'd like to put her out in the fields, and the coyotes could have her. They said, oh, you can't do that. That will poison them. You must bury her 3 feet deep because, yeah. So, but what could we do, middle of winter? So she's out there. Then we've got Jack, who we inherited when our daughter died, and he is this. You might have heard him meow. He just came up here. He looks like Yoda. He's got ears that go way out on the side. He's more like a dog. We say he's a dog in a cat's body. Very friendly, very... he's not afraid of dogs. Right now I'm looking and our dog is... Oh, there, our dog is trying to catch him, but that's never going to happen. And then the third cat, and now he's right up here. He wants to be on the podcast. Meow, Jack, meow. Or whatever you do. And the third cat is the big fluffy one. You got Tita. Oh, he's wrecking things, this one. And she, like your cat, she has her in and out a dozen times in the morning. I'm out, so I want to come in, I'm in. So and we do that. We bottle her. And she has something in the morning. She wants me to sit in bed and pet her and scratch her. And sometimes I just don't have the time or I don't want to, but she gets in there and then she's looking at me and she's making her funny little movements. And
she's communicating.
Yes, and then I feel guilty, but
yeah,
I can't live my life, based on this cat. So that's just the way it is. Okay, then. You're not going to own a cat.
Janet and I come to you twice a month with new episodes. Some are funny, some are serious, some are just our crazy opinions. I hope you enjoyed our show.
Me too. It's been a pleasure. We are Nancy and Janet,
the Bitchin' Sisters.
Music by Paul and Sidnor.